Namaste. You are listening to Manav Parichay, Introduction to Humanity. In the previous episode, after learning about Saba's tragedy, Nasir considered it an opportunity for atonement. On the workshop's day off, Nasir and mother reached Imran's poor but affectionate home. The moment everyone was waiting for arrived, Imran's mother politely put forward the proposal for Nasir and Saba's nikah. Consent was received from both families. But is the consent of two individuals and two families enough? Society's interference, society stepped in between this simple relationship. When Imran went to the Qazi to perform the nikah, the Qazi flatly refused. The reason? There is a fatwa against Nasir. Two conditions. The Qazi stated two conditions for the nikah. Either find a Qazi who is unaware of the fatwa against Nasir, or Nasir must seek forgiveness from the Mufti. Saba's father's anger. Hearing this, Saba's paralyzed father was filled with rage. Her mother also feared that by upsetting the muftis and mullahs, calamity would befall them. They called Nasir to ask him to seek forgiveness. On Friday, when Nasir and mother sat down for a quiet discussion while watching Shanaya sleeping in Saba's lap, Nasir announced his decision. Nasir's philosophical rebellion. Nasir did not give a direct answer. Raising the issue of the atrocities committed against Saba, he began a logical and moral speech. The question, Nasir targeted the muftis and mullahs. These muftis and mullahs do not issue any fatwa against shameless men. They do not promote modern education for women. He asked, should religion be a medium to ensure joy for human life, or a tool to turn an innocent life into hell? Nasir's sharp criticism. Nasir also accepted the sin of his own divorce and questioned, why didn't the muftis and mullahs issue a fatwa against me back then? Finally, Nasir firmly declared his moral conclusion. Therefore, even if it seems necessary to you for the nikah with Saba, it is not possible for me to go and seek forgiveness from them. Now, Saba's mother asked, then Nasir beta, how will the nikah between you and Saba take place? Listen to the strike on orthodoxy, Nasir's conscience, and how a way will be found for the nikah of two lovers, in Manav Parichay. You will hear Episode 15, The Obstacle to Nikah and Nasir's Philosophical Rebellion. On the next weekly holiday of the workshop, Nasir and mother reached Imran's house. Poverty was clearly visible in the house, other than that, everything else was very nice. They were given a warm welcome. The moment they were waiting for finally arrived. Pointing towards Saba and Nasir, Imran's mother said to Nasir's mother,
if you accept, we wish to perform the nikah of these two children. Mother did not delay at all in answering. She instantly said, both these children have seen bad times. If they accept, I give my consent for the sake of their happiness.
From Nasir's mother's answer, the matter turned to Saba and Nasir. Both gave their consent with a gesture. It is a great irony of our social structure, often called modern and developed, that even when two adults want to bind themselves in the profound relationship of husband and wife with full understanding and mutual consent, society's interference comes between them. In the nikah of Nasir and Saba, it wasn't just their consent, but also the permission of the elders in both families. Yet, society was about to step into this seemingly simple relationship. It is said that if the bride and groom are willing, what can the Qazi do? Here, even this proverb seemed likely to prove false. What happened was that once it was decided between both families to perform the nikah of Nasir and Saba, Imran went to a Qazi. The Qazi asked for the details of Nasir and Saba. After Imran provided the information, the Qazi refused to perform their nikah, saying,
there is a fatwa against Nasir. In such a situation, the nikah of Nasir with Saba is not possible.
Imran asked anxiously, there must be some way their nikah can take place?
The Qazi said, this nikah is possible in two scenarios.
Imran, giving a 500 rupee note to the Qazi, said, please tell me.
The Qazi, putting the note in his pocket, said, the first scenario is that you find a Qazi who has no knowledge of the fatwa against Nasir. Have their nikah performed by that Qazi. And the second is that I can also perform the nikah if Nasir seeks forgiveness and gets this fatwa issued by the Mufti lifted from himself.
Imran thanked the Qazi and took his leave. Imran returned home. He informed his mother and father about the obstacle that had arisen and the solutions suggested by the Qazi. Hearing all this, the paralyzed father suddenly became angry. He said to Imran,
"You foolish man, you let things progress this far and only now are you telling us about the fatwa against Nasir?"
Mother also agreed with the father, saying, "Son Imran, we have to live in this community. By upsetting the muftis and mullahs, calamity will fall upon us. It is simply not possible for us to have the nikah performed by a qazi who is unaware of the fatwa. The outcome will not be good. Because of such a deception, a fatwa will be issued against us as well. Then even your own nikah will be in jeopardy."
When Imran saw a threat to his own nikah, he said thoughtfully, "Abbu, please don't be angry. It will have a bad effect on your health. I will talk to Nasir Bhai Jan about seeking forgiveness from the mufti."
The father controlled his anger, then said with relative softness, "Imran, you will not talk to him alone. Call Nasir and his mother here. From now on, whatever talk takes place will be in front of us, do you understand?"
The house is not large. Although Sabah is not in the room, everything being said is clearly audible to her while she is in the kitchen. After meeting Nasir and his mother, she has begun to like Nasir in her heart. Sabah felt disappointed by the new trouble that had arisen. She prayed in her heart that when Nasir comes, he would agree to seek forgiveness.
In front of his father and mother, Imran called Nasir and said, "Bhai Jan, some obstacles are coming up regarding the nikah. My Abbu and Ammi want you to come to our house with your mother to discuss this."
Nasir took a few moments to think, then said, "This will be possible only next Friday, on the day the workshop is closed."
Imran said, "All right, Bhai Jan." Then Imran told this to his father. The father said, "Fine. We will wait."
In the following days, Imran continued to drop and pick up Nasir and remained with him at the workshop. During that time, neither Nasir nor he spoke about the obstacle regarding the nikah. On Friday, when Nasir and mother reached Imran's house, they brought dry fruits and chocolates as gifts. They also brought expensive clothes for Shanaya. Seeing all this, Sabah was pleased, but the father and mother did not show any happiness. Then, while they were exchanging general pleasantries, Sabah brought coffee for everyone. Sabah's mother asked her to sit in front of everyone. Before doing so, Sabah brought her sleeping daughter, Shanaya, in her lap. Then Sabah also began drinking coffee with everyone else. One good thing happened. To avoid disturbing Shanaya sleeping in Sabah's lap, everyone's voice became soft and quiet during the discussion.
Imran told everything that had happened with the Qazi. Then he asked Nasir, "Bhai Jan, tell us, what should be the way out of this dilemma?"
Nasir thought for a minute or two while sipping his coffee before speaking. Everyone kept looking at Nasir continuously. Then, as if announcing a decision, Nasir said,
"I am not in favor of having the nikah performed by deceiving any qazi. Nor am I going to go to any mufti or mullah to seek forgiveness."
At this, Sabah's mother asked, "Then how will the nikah be possible?"
Nasir, without answering the question directly, began speaking like a speech. "Sabah and I are both victims of the backward and orthodox traditions prevailing in our community. Sabah's nikah was performed within our own community. She was kept in deception. She was given a sick husband who passed away within a year. Even giving the in-laws the benefit of the doubt, if we consider it Sabah's fate, I have no hesitation in calling what happened later shameful. The husband's father saw his son's death as an opportunity for his own lust. Am I saying something wrong, Sabah?"
Sabah was stunned by the sudden question. When nothing came to her mind, she nodded in agreement. This increased Nasir's enthusiasm, and he continued.
"Granted that women are dependent. They are not capable of earning themselves. Is it right to force them to endure such atrocities for this reason? These muftis and mullahs do not issue any fatwa against shameless men. They do not take any initiative or put a solid system in place to ensure such atrocities cannot be committed against women. They do not promote modern education for women. By mentioning some line prevalent in religion, they justify not providing modern education to women. Then, by creating a compulsion for women to be dependent, they maintain a situation where men can act arbitrarily toward them. You tell me, should religion be a medium to ensure joy for human life, or a tool to turn an innocent life into hell?"
Saying this, Nasir looked at everyone, feeling proud of his understanding and hoping for praise. Nasir raised the issue of the atrocities committed against Saba as a question. Because of this, everyone present was in a position where they couldn't say anything. Taking this as everyone's silent consent, Nasir's enthusiasm increased further. But this time, while continuing, his voice became soft.
Now I will tell you about myself. I have divorced my wife. I gave Firdas triple talaq at a time when triple talaq had become against the law in the country. I said talaq 3 times at once, which is not even the method of divorce accepted by our community. At that time, the muftis and mullahs did not issue a fatwa against me. That is, they had no objection to a man's atrocity against Firdas, who is a woman. Does this not show that these people provide a system to keep women suppressed in our community and not give them equal status?
At this, Saba's father expressed disagreement, saying, "Those people understand Islam better than we do. They provide a system according to that."
Nasir understood that Saba's father belongs to the older generation of men. He would not support anything said against the patriarchy or the muftis and mullahs. Then, he continued logically.
I don't understand why, when our women are also followers of Islam, they are treated with such bias. Why do we force only women to follow one-sided rules? Are mistakes made only by women? Men are given the power to divorce them for their mistakes. If the husband makes a mistake, shouldn't there be a system for the woman to divorce him?
With these questions from Nasir, Saba's father was silenced. Meanwhile, he felt the silent support of everyone there, including the women and even Imran. Nasir took a few sips of water from a jug into a glass kept there. He waited for a few moments for someone to say something. When no one said anything, Nasir himself continued in a controlled and calm voice.
We call those who do not follow Islam, kafirs. Even when our women follow Islam, we discriminate against them, almost like people of other faiths do.
Everyone remained silent before Nasir's questions and logic. Meanwhile, Saba is thinking that Nasir is a very kind person. She feels that while talking about women, Nasir is actually describing her own pain. In the name of men, besides Nasir, Saba's father and Imran are present there. The father is distressed by the atrocities committed against Saba in Dubai. Therefore, he cannot think of words to speak against Nasir. Imran is also Nasir's subordinate in the workshop, so he also remains silent out of respect for him.
Then Nasir began speaking again. Now listen to another example of injustice by those who issue fatwas. They should have issued a fatwa against me when I said talaq to Firdas 3 times in just a few seconds. They did not issue a fatwa against me then. They issued a fatwa against me when I called a kafir judge in court a true Muslim. That judge was looking at me like a human being, without bias. It made no difference to him whether I was a Muslim or a criminal who attacked his wife. Back then, they felt so bad about my words that they issued a fatwa against me. Therefore, even if it seems necessary to you for the nikah with Saba, it is not possible for me to go and seek forgiveness from them.
Now Saba's mother said, "Then Nasir beta, how will the nikah between you and Saba take place?"
Now listen to the review, critique, and guidance written by Gemini on this episode of Manav Parichay. Subtitle: The Obstacle to Nikah and Nasir's Philosophical Rebellion. This episode is the most powerful and decisive moment in Nasir's character development. His personal struggle now moves beyond individual atonement and becomes a philosophical rebellion against social and religious orthodoxies. The nikah proposal faces a religious obstacle, the fatwa, which Nasir is ready to challenge. 1. Poverty, acceptance, and religious obstacle. Family consent. The immediate and natural acceptance by both families shows that Saba and Nasir's needs and suffering were more important than religious or social hurdles. Role of the Qazi. The Qazi appears as a representative of religious rules, refusing to perform the nikah due to the fatwa. Both solutions suggested by the Qazi, nikah by deception or seeking forgiveness from the mufti, are contrary to Nasir's new moral philosophy. The fear of Imran's family, the fear shown by Saba's paralyzed father and her mother, represents the actual impact of extremism. It shows that the extremist system rests on fear. 2. Nasir's philosophical and ideological rebellion. Nasir uses the obstacle to his nikah as a platform to attack religious hypocrisy. His speech reflects his intellectual revolution. Attack on orthodoxy. Nasir explicitly declares that he will neither deceive nor seek forgiveness. For him, seeking forgiveness would mean accepting a system that, according to him, is immoral. Utilizing Saba's exploitation, Nasir uses the atrocities committed against Saba as a powerful argument. He asks why muftis and mullahs do not issue fatwas against shameless men, but instead keep women deprived of education to keep them subordinate to the whims of men. Orthodox traditions. Nasir's statement that both Saba and he are victims of the community's orthodox traditions provides a common moral ground for their relationship. Contradiction on divorce and fatwa. Nasir's strongest argument is that when he gave Firdaus illegal triple talaq, no fatwa was issued. But when he called a secular judge's humanity through Islam, a fatwa was issued. This proves that the purpose of a fatwa is not morality or Islam, but to maintain patriarchy and authoritarian control. 3. Silent acceptance and Saba's support. Remorse replaces rage in Nasir. Nasir is now free from the remorse of the past and is in a state of rage towards social injustice. His speech, especially asking Saba a direct question, includes her in his fight. Saba nodding in agreement provides Nasir with silent support. The meaning of silence. Saba's father cannot answer Nasir's arguments because he is distressed by the atrocities committed against Saba, while Imran, being the subordinate, and the women, being victims, provide silent support. This silence reflects the power of Nasir's arguments. Turning point in the story. Saba's mother's final question, then how will the nikah be possible, leaves the story at a turning point where a new way must be found to replace religious authority with personal conscience. Nasir has made it clear that he will not follow the old rules, so he must now find a new way for the nikah. Episode 15 ends.